But which of us can say with certainty what has actually occurred, and what is simply rumour, misinformation, opinion?
A photograph is considered proof in the court of law.
But photographs can be doctored. One's eyes can be deceived. We see what we believe, not the other way around.
So kind, would you mind introducing yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Brandon Evans, play guitar.
Hey, Ryan, Scorpio, play drums.
Kevin and I play bass.
And the band that you guys play for is?
City of Caterpillar.
We should all say that together.
1, 2, 3.
City of Caterpillar.
That was awesome, thank you. So right now we are downstairs from Rumah Api in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where you guys are in the midst of your Asian tour, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is your first time in Malaysia. Is that correct?
Second?
First.
Did you say second?
I said first.
Oh, I heard wrong. Right. It's like, shit.
First time.
Missed out.
Both as a touring band and as people, just traveling?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. I'm curious, What had you heard about Malaysia and what were you expecting?
I had no expectations whatsoever. I was just very excited to go somewhere that I had never been, and you hear about Malaysia a lot and the different types of things that are happening, like as far as ethnicities and food and people and culture, so it was something that I was very excited to do.
I'm not sure if I'm going to include this part in the podcast, but you guys are here at a very interesting time because we just had a big election.
Yeah, Chi, our host, was telling us all about it, and we were at a dinner last night, and people were just, having a great time applauding the TV. So,
Applauding the TV. Flying the flags.
I don't know if they told you this part, but some people were expecting martial law.
Really?
Yeah, we weren't sure what was going to happen. Really? So, but I'm very happy that people are happy and that, things are more or less.
Very optimistic vibe in the air.
Yeah.
So we're stoked to be a part of it in some little tiny way.
So let's talk about how this Asian tour came about. Who organized it, and I guess why Asia? Why these countries?
Well, we were invited back to Japan, and that was just kind of it was a magical experience. We went once when we were a band, and that was kind of our epic little point that I think all of us feel that in our history when we were functioning as a band, that it was the best trip. It was magical, so we met in Vienna, and that became this tight bond of people doing something very similar of energy. So
About what year was that?
that was 2003.
Okay.
So 15 years ago that happened. So when we did this reunion stuff, we played in Europe with Heaven in Her Arms, and we had a great time. Kind of spending
We played a festival in Prague,
Fluff Fest.
Fluff Fest, with them, and we talked to them just briefly, and then within a few weeks they were like, "Do you want to come back to Japan?" So we were like, "Well, yeah,
No brainer.
of course."
And then fine gentlemen like Chi and others reached out to us.
That was in the works, and then I think when other promoters in Southeast Asia found out that we were coming over, it's like, well, why don't we just do as much as we can? And so then we added four more: Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia.
So this is actually the tail end of the tour then?
Yeah,
You
we
guys
have
are-
2 more shows.
How has it been so far?
It's been awesome.
Magical. It's
Yeah.
been ridiculous.
I mean,
It's surreal as fuck. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I
That's-
just keep
that sums it
saying
up.
to Ryan, like, and we used to just play in your shitty little basement like 20 some years ago. Never knew. We were just making dumb noise. Like, had no idea we would one day be
Yeah.
invited to.
yeah, we didn't
such
think that
places
we
like
would play
Malaysia.
again, really. And then that snowballed into playing a few shows, and then that was, okay, we'll do a couple tours. Then it was like, okay, Japan and all the
Yeah.
Southeast Asia.
Now
Sure,
we're
why not?
We're halfway across.
So we
the
don't really
world.
know what we're doing still, but yeah, it's been a blast,
Ryan, I'm sure, has toured quite a bit because of the band that you were in.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how, as far as like long, extensive tours and touring internationally, how much experience do you guys have?
I think between the three of us, there's probably 30-some years of touring experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all.
Everybody's
Everyone's
done.
still playing bands.
Play in
Like,
different bands and
Everyone's at it.
Ryan's
different
been
ways.
definitely the most
Yeah.
touring. Like, I guess I would just say successful to be able to keep going a lot. Yeah, he's hit it hard.
Steadily touring, I'd say.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the history of the band, because you guys weren't active for that long, but you were quite... You left quite an impression, I guess, let's say. What led to you forming, and what did you hope to accomplish when you did?
Yeah, no. There was no premeditated thought to any of it. It was just friends playing with each other.
The band sort of formed out of a band that they were doing that was just, doing smaller tours and playing in basements and DIY spots. Yeah. And then that band sort of turned into City Caterpillar, doing the same stuff, booking our own tours and
Just with like a couple other members.
We had an opportunity to do a tour with playing Singing for Stars, this old band before City Caterpillar. When that band dissolved, we really wanted to do the tour still, but we had no band, so we just quickly made up another band, wrote 5 songs very quickly, recorded them very quickly,
Like,
burned them on
literally
CD.
all
Like
this
it was
happened in 2
in
and a
like
half
2.5 weeks, and then that 5-song demo thing with no titles is that, and then we did the tour just because they were our friends and we wanted to be part of it. I mean, that's really why the band started out of desperation to do the tour
It was
with our buddies. That's kind of how it happened.
The 5 songs, did they end up on the album?
that's
Nope.
the demo.
One of them did. One song did.
There's the live and demo
the
record.
bass intro
So
song.
the demo half, that side of the record is that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
After
the-
the demo, that's when I joined the band. Then
Yeah.
we started writing the songs for the first full length,
Okay.
which,
Self-titled.
yeah.
Tell me about the scene that you guys came out of, the Richmond scene.
Everybody came from something. I mean, it was
It's a small town, small city.
a lot of
Very
music.
art-driven college right in the middle, but it's not a college campus, so it's right in the middle. So a lot of kids are coming in and out. About every 4 years, it kind of shifts as to like what's kind of the hip thing. But there's still this very underground, strong punk community. It's much, and Richmond is much more on the heavier side of things. It tends to be, I find, even still, like decades later. But yeah, that was sort of like the scene, sort of that kind of paints it. A lot of small basement shows, house shows. They have like 3 venues maybe in Richmond, typically in and out. Like one will shut down, a new one will start. Right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. There was a lot of metal. There was a lot of punk, and
Just a bunch
those
of
worlds.
hardcore.
It's a lot
back
of
then,
just college kids, really, that are starting bands when they get, out of their parents' house or whatever, and fucking around.
Did you guys all grow up in the area?
I did.
Me and Ryan did. Kevin
Yeah.
and go ahead.
Me and Jeff grew up north of,
2
kind of
hours.
outside of DC, in the suburbs.
And that's like a lot of our friends still like are up in that area. So there's a strong connection with like us and a big group of them up there, like Page 99 guys, and we've always been in and out of like sharing members and touring together. Majority Rule did a lot of tours all together. So the friend connection within them and us has kind of just become one thing. So it just kind of became a Virginia thing instead of a
Also, Richmond was special in a lot of ways because the punk, hardcore, metal, all that stuff, no one ever cared. Like, it wasn't exclusive to those genres. Everybody just played shows together. Like, there would be hot water music, a death metal band, and a grindcore band. I mean, Ass-Suck and Hot Water Music played the same show. I say it all the time because it's just ridiculous when you think about it, but that was the scene then. It didn't matter. No one cared. And everybody, that's why there was so many people starting bands together within different genres, because it was, no one cared. If you like it, I don't know.
It was also sort of the thing. I don't think it was as, because you didn't have internet and things like that to make it. So like, if a band came touring, the big band would, the local scene would be like the headliner, and you'd put the band on tour. Even if they're a big kind of band, they're not as big as the local band. Like in Richmond, like Cross Fallen, Avail, Inquisition, all those bands were going to be like get all the draw. So they would put the other people right in front of them, get them to many people to see their band as possible.
It worked.
And that was sort of how the scene functioned when you toured around in the States at that time. It was kind of like making the community.
I guess, varied and unsegregated as it was, do you think that had an effect on the way your sound eventually developed?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean the first band that we were in had sounded like a screamo band or something, but there was some double bass in it. I mean, there were things that didn't. I don't know. There was a lot of weird twists and turns. Like I said, everybody was drawing from their influences, so nothing was off the table, and everybody had an open mind to whatever. That's kind of how.
Yeah, this band has always kind of functioned on kind of being a little more on the art end of things, being artistically expressive rather than fit in the sound. I think, is this what you were asking about?
Sort of, but explain what you mean.
I just find that we've always taken music with an artistic angle, thinking about the emotions and just doing something
He's
strange.
an artist. He can do things like draw. All the artwork that you've ever seen from anything that we've ever done is all his. I can't draw shit. I don't know how to do anything.
A little less worried about like trying to fit in and at the time and be part of like this sound, this scene like thing. We were just kind of pulling from different influences at the time. But I think I got your question wrong. Now that you.
Not really. No. Different perspective of the question.
It was an interesting way of answering the question. I think, I guess the way I'm coming from it is, I belong to a scene where, we've got our grindcore bands, we've got our hardcore bands, and we've got a few death metal bands, and occasionally they'll play together, but not really.
Right.
But then when the scene is smaller and the bands all kind of play together, you see things start rubbing off on each other.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, we've been I think, especially the older we've gotten, like, our tastes have expanded dramatically, and now we're just pulling from even further areas and getting further out, I think, now. But at the time, yeah, like, it was kind of like being young, you don't get exposed to too much, so you sort of find your things, then you start obsessing on them a bit, and I was much more narrow-minded then. But I still think, for the scenes, we were kind of looked at confusedly, and people didn't know what the fuck we were doing, because we didn't know what we were doing.
And yeah, when we went on tour, we played with all sorts of bands.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like the bands that were, in the screamo genre or whatever. I mean,
it is interesting.
It wasn't that it wasn't that popular or something.
No,
it wasn't like fully. It was just you played a show and then whoever played, and and there might be bands that you had heard of in that area when you're going down to like whatever Florida. Say, oh well, can we try to play with that band that might sound like sort of like us, But I don't know. It didn't really ever make sense. I don't think.
I don't think everybody was. Yeah. Because,
I
mean, the screamo thing is, whatever it is called screamo now is confusing, because I think all those bands were pulling from different angles, and they were the amalgamation of weird couple different genres. So then in different pockets, like Florida had a much more like particular Florida kind of sound, and Virginia had this kind of Virginia-esque kind of sound that we were like seeing more, but it was us getting it all fucking wrong from like seeing like a California band once, or like
right
a New York band.
And it was hard to put it all together because there's no internet or anything, so it just
yeah, you go to your local record store and pick up some 7 inches, some 12 inches.
Yeah.
Ask them what's the cool new thing within, like, because you're like, oh, I like for me, it was like, I like Gravity Records. What else should I be doing?
Yeah, and I used to write to bands and stuff, and just when I'd buy their records and ask them what they were into, and they'd tell me, they'd be like, oh, I'm into Crime, and I'd be like, oh, who's Crime? And then you gotta figure out who Crime is, It wasn't easy to find out about the new stuff, I guess.
How did you guys develop your sound? Were you writing individually and then coming together, or were you jamming, or were you...
It was just
in the room.
Just making noise.
There was nothing. There was absolutely no discussion of what we should sound like. Everybody would write their own part. I feel like he would have a riff, and then someone put something to it, and then someone put something to it, and then
it would just be like,
and
we need another riff. Hurry, your turn. Go now.
Yeah. It's like, well, I need a part to this.
Okay.
Well, when we play, I don't know. Just write a part to it, and that's
then,
what it was.
And then arranging it all together, sort of. Yeah.
Ryan's really good with pushing and arranging. Being fast. Like, okay, we got that. What's next? It's good. It was like what really made it happen.
In my experience, drummers have an insight to like the way a song should flow.
I feel like, I mean, if I had to say I had a strong suit when it comes to music, I'm pretty good at that.
You're an arranger.
Yeah.
Producer.
I like to make a song happen, and I'm not so worried about parts as I am just how the parts go into one another.
Or we were worried that we only had an hour to practice because someone had to go to work, or the roommate was like, "Shut the fuck up, like get out of here." So it's like, let's hurry up and finish this song so we can, you know.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not that familiar with screamo because I came from kind of a different background. I grew up on a lot of like death metal and grind and stuff like that. Like my feeling about screamo is that, like you said, Planes Mistaken for Stars and Orchid and stuff like that. And so when I hear City of Caterpillar, I think the aspect of your sound that makes the biggest impression on me is the build-up and the tension that you guys create, and a lot of the long acoustic parts, which to me is more almost post-rock or krautrock or stuff like that.
I think we've always thought that.
Yeah.
And maybe we didn't really fit into any of that genre.
I love people's interpretations of what they hear because we didn't have any idea. We just knew that we liked what we were doing, and we didn't have any idea why. I mean, we knew why, but we just wrote it.
We were getting into post-rock.
Yeah, I mean, we were
Mogwai and loving Mogwai and Godspeed, and we were also coming.
We saw Godspeed, and fucking that changed us, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just, and then decided, and we were all still doing heavy shit. I mean, interpretation is.
How familiar were you with what, like ISIS and the Hydra Head guys were doing?
Yeah. I mean, I mean.
We saw all their bands.
Yeah, we saw them play.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge movement.
ISIS was awesome.
Within the scene.
I mean, can't say that anymore, but the band was fucking sick.
The band was awesome. The movement, not so much.
ISIS is awesome.
I know, like I just said that and then realized what I had said.
It's okay. I think in Malaysia they call them something else.
Okay.
I think they're called like Dash or like ISIL or something like
Okay.
that. Was there ever a point where you heard another band and were like, oh, these guys are similar to us? Or did you always feel that you were different from whatever else was going on?
There's only...
I mean, I felt like when we played with Envy, that seemed like it was, you know.
I don't think they sound like us, but I think they're pulling from this like weird, like I feel like they got out there and don't fit anybody else's sound either, but pulling from similar stuff and ending with a very what to me feels like a similar energy underneath it. I don't know.
Yeah, that and Planes were the same sort of way. It's not like we just didn't sound like anything, but it was kind of like
The personalities.
Yeah, we're all trying to achieve the same goal or something. I don't know, the end goal.
Would you put a band like Pelican in the same boat? Because I feel like they came a little bit later, but they're doing something very similar.
I don't know who that is.
I mean, I know.
I heard of them, but I don't know.
Another band, me and Jeff were in, play with them. I never really listened to much of them, but it's kind of.
But the guitar player in Pelican has a band called Swan King, and they're fucking awesome. But they're not around anymore. But that's another. I mean, I don't know. That's how he got in the band later. But
Is that Jamie too?
Jamie from Plains was in Swan King as well. That's another great band. I don't know. Heavy.
Yeah.
Just confused. Just like the rest
No,
of
we
us.
just never play with Pelican like as a band back then. Any of our bands. So I didn't have that chance to connect on that level of like Planes or Envy, because at that point it was more about our personalities matching up as well. That made it much bigger than just like, oh, I like this music.
asking, why did you guys call it quits? Why was City of Caterpillar put to bed?
Take it, Ken.
I don't know. Well, yeah, that's.
I don't
Not
know.
really sure.
Jeff just kind of walked in. We were practicing, writing a new record. He walked in the
No,
room.
I think that was just like,
It was done.
you know, yeah, kind of, maybe, I don't know, people just kind of wanted it to sound a different way, maybe, or it's like going in different paths, and maybe not getting along, all that. Like, getting along, no, like, real fighting or anything. It's just kind of like, I don't know. There's no real one thing that went down. It just sort of fell apart.
Plus, you guys were all pretty young back then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but at that point we weren't like terribly young.
I'd already been out, so
Oh,
I don't
Kevin
know. I
was,
don't know
yeah.
why the end of it happened. I don't know that.
Yeah.
I think we just weren't getting it done in a fast enough or good enough method. And Jeff was just done. He was just like, fuck this, I'm gonna do it differently and, you know, try something new.
Well, yeah, I think he wanted it to sound one way. Brandon probably wanted it to sound one way. And, you know, at the time, there was another drummer. And it seemed like the drummer was kind of gelling really well with Brandon. They went to start a band as soon as that was over. And, you know, I was just kind of doing whatever. But, yeah, it just, nothing... It's not a good story.
Sure. No, I wasn't looking
It's just
for a good
kind of
story.
like,
I was just
okay,
curious.
let's try something different. You know, this isn't working anymore. Let's do something different. So.
The reason why I ask about the end is City of Caterpillar seems like one of those bands that were there first and didn't get noticed until much later. Would you say that's fair?
That's absolutely positively
no one
correct.
cared that much.
Yeah. No one cared when. Well, I shouldn't say no one, but it wasn't like I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely won't, like the years of...
It wasn't popular or anything. It just kind of we did what we did, and then that was that. And then
It became culty, like once the internet kind of blew up and, you know, changed the way the world is.
and I think that sort of style of music developed too, where people were like, oh, this is a band that I wish I could have seen, you know. And then it's like there's no chance that they're ever going to see him again or whatever. And,
I mean, I discovered City of Caterpillar much later. I do remember Page 99, and I do remember the split.
Yeah.
But I think it was only after ISIS started going their post-rock ways, Neurosis started going in a very similar, like Godspeed kind of direction.
That blows my mind because I mean, you grew up listening to death metal and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you even gave City of Caterpillar a chance, which I think, well, that's a wonderful thing. I mean, it's I don't know that speaks
it's the
volumes.
crossover, man. We've been hearing about.
Yeah, like we were playing shows like, why there's a lot of people here wearing death metal t-shirts,
Yeah.
and it's I don't have any idea why, but that's very cool.
Well, part of it was where I was living at the time, which was we talked about me running into you at Darkest Hour show when you guys
Yeah.
were opening for the Crown.
Yeah.
And the Crown was like Swedish death metal, the kind of stuff that like I fucking grew up and lived for.
Yeah.
But then you see Darkest Hour play with the Crown, and then you see Darkest Hour play with Dillinger Escape Plan, and then you see a band like Meat Jack, and you see a band like Grief, and there's a lot of stuff because of the nature of that scene.
Yeah.
Like sometimes just weird bands that you wouldn't expect to play together would play together.
Yeah.
And sometimes bands would just come out with sounds in a manner very similar to your band. You'd have a band like Cattle Press. I don't know if you remember those guys.
Yeah.
Who were like technical death metal hardcore. They were hardcore kids who were playing like immolation style riffs. And so I never felt like. Well, I mean, I did feel as like a long-haired kid wearing a death metal shirt, walking into a hardcore show. Yeah, maybe I don't belong here. But then, when all this stuff was happening, I never felt like this is not as good as Deicide or Obituary or whatever. Like everything kind of had its own value to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everything has a beginning, and a lot of those bands at the beginning kind of built the foundation, and then music evolves, genre evolves.
Palette expands
Exactly.
too. With that.
Yeah. So it all kind of intermingles at some point.
But was there a point where I don't know? I mean, you guys were very active, if not with this band then. with the other bands that you were playing in, where you're seeing bands come out and be like, oh, we were doing this 10 years ago?
I mean, 10 years from then? Oh.
Yeah.
No, we're pretty weird.
I wasn't really...
I mean, honestly, the only thing that, and this is strange for me to say, and everybody won't agree with me, but when I heard Death Heaven for the first time, there's parts that they do. Obviously, they don't sound like us as a whole, but there's parts that I think are the closest thing to City Caterpillar I've ever heard. And mostly, it's like the drummer has like a style that is so similar to Ryan, which I've never heard anybody do because it's just so kind of strange. It's very busy. It's very, it's like very busy, very heavy on the bass drum, like use, and like a lot of busy fills and things like that, that fit in. And this their drummer does it very similarly. I don't know why. I don't know if he's been a fan and was like inspired by Ryan particularly, but I think that makes it sound even extra like City Caterpillar. But then, then it goes into the black metal sound. The closest, but that makes no sense to me. Like, I don't think they're trying to sound like City Caterpillar.
Like, I mean, when I hear a band do something that would even be like connected to City Caterpillar, I feel like that they probably heard the bands that we did too, and that's probably where it came from.
Yeah.
They're not trying to sound like us; they're trying to sound the way that we wanted to sound because we heard those bands. You know what I mean? So I don't think anyone's trying to do anything like City Caterpillar. I think people are trying to do the same sound that City Caterpillar was trying to do. We're all trying to rip off the better bands, but in our own way.
All right.
Not rip them off, but you know what I mean. Just do our own thing with what we were influenced by. Yeah.
If you had to, I apologize for this question. If you had to describe your legacy, what would it be?
Short. And not legacy-esque at all. There's no legacy to it. 3 years is nothing. Yeah.
Short.
3 years is not a legacy. It's a flash in the pan. I think it's incredible what was accomplished in the 3 years. Even though back then it didn't seem like anything.
I think it's not really, I don't know. Maybe, I just think it's more cult. Cult is like the more important thing about it than the band was. Like what happened with the world after is more impactful as to create some legacy. Does that make sense? Like the time that it happened was more important than the band itself, I think. To make whatever you would call a legacy, to make it like to make us be here now.
Good timing.
I get that.
Good timing.
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't just us. I think there was a group of bands, specifically like Majority Rule and Page 99, that there was a pack of people that were kind of doing this thing, and when that ended, it's sort of like I don't know. I guess people just throw us in there with that, which makes sense, but I don't know about a legacy.
So I mean,
people remember that, and it's one of those things where culty, I guess, and then people hearing about the bands and wishing that they could have seen it, and then so it's like, oh, they're gonna play again, and it's like people are going crazy. Some places they don't give a shit.
People that look like still like back then looking, I was like, what the fuck are they doing?
And
This
maybe-
is what I came out here for.
And maybe it's a cheesy way to put it too, but there's definitely more. I think it's more of an emotional legacy. People were at a point in their life, and those bands were around, and that was a big deal for them, for whatever reason. Us too. I'm emotionally attached to everyone involved, and all those people all those bands that he's talking about were. I don't know. There's whether it be good or bad, love or hate. It's an emotion that will stick with me forever. And those people being maybe a part of it, feeling like they were part of it, I think it's more of an emotional attachment and that's stronger than anything. I mean, it's like having a girlfriend, and you'll never forget your first girlfriend or your first time you ever, do the thing. It's like one of those things. I don't know. You just always remember it and connect it to it. I remember. She was great.
It's great that you remember.
No, she was a great person.
It's good they were putting her on the podcast.
Yeah.
What does the future hold for you guys?
This is the future right now. We don't know. We're not thinking that any further ahead than the next 2 shows. It's kind of, if something comes up or comes along that we feel that we just really want to be a part of, then we'll do it. But
Like Cuba.
yeah, right now the world is kind of.
I think a lot of it too is we're having fun traveling with each other and going to different places, and just sort of hanging out.
Yeah, because we all live split.
We don't
into
live
different
all that
states
close to
and
each other,
stuff
and
since
so
the band
it's
broke up.
it's like these family vacations that we're going on.
Yeah, it's the excuse to get together and run around.
And
Yeah, totally.
yeah, it's been really fun. So. As far as new music, I don't know how that would work. We brought it up a couple times, but we haven't figured out how
What
that
if
would
we
work.
did? No, but it's never like we should. It's like,
Yeah.
what if
we
what
did
if that
that?
happened? Would that be weird?
Because we all live far away, and so
It just seems daunting to even think about trying to get something like that even going. But yeah, as far as the future, this is just more of a now. We're just kind of doing it now.
at least now we know how to play the song, so it wouldn't take us however long it did for us to figure those things out. It wasn't easy.
Thank you guys so much.
Nah, hey man, thank you so much for the interview.